Hello everyone and welcome to this special interview that is currently being held at the SEC head office, where I am with the CEO of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Mr. Chitalu, who has just concluded the Q3 presentation. Philip, how are you?
I'm okay, and how are you?
No, we're fine. We're fine. We're exhilarated and excited about the Q3 announcement. Just to let our viewers in, the SEC normally has these sit-down discussions every quarter to give us updates regarding how the market is performing. From the onset, how would you say the market performed in Q3?
I think the Q3 performance, to a larger extent, like I said, exceeded our expectations, in the sense that the markets are fully recovered to a larger extent, given by the growth in the market cap and the prices that we've seen are contributing to that. We have more than 4 or 5 counters of the 22 counters on the market contributing to the market cap, which is good in itself. And like we said, prices going up, that means investors having confidence in the growth prospects of these companies, and that's one thing that is exciting. The other growth area that we see is in this, what we call retail segments of the savings sector, which is the collective investment schemes. Again, there we saw almost 430,000 people participating, compared to about 410,000 people. For us, the numbers speak for themselves, in the sense that then more people are becoming aware of what they can do with their savings in the capital markets. And then, of course, the other growth area is to see to it that more and more people are coming on board in terms of the trading that is taking place in the secondary market for government securities. Worldwide, government securities, usually in terms of market turnover, is higher than even the equities. But whilst it's recognized that institutional investors generally drive those markets, we're seeing in the numbers that we see quite a number of retail investors participating as well.
Absolutely. And, in today's presentation, you talked about some of the few companies that you as a SEC have noticed a significant rise in share price. Are you able to tell us about these companies and what you as a SEC are seeing?
Yeah, off the cuff, I think one of the largest growth in terms of market price has been in Airtel. And I think it could also be, people react to such important information as dividends, for instance. I think Airtel over the last couple of years has been declaring dividends.
It's a regular one, actually.
Yeah, regular. CEC is one such counter as well, and CEC is also very, very regular in terms of how they get to give dividends. I must use the usual caveat, like what I'm talking about is not financial advice.
Correct.
I'm just breaking down the way it was. Correct. Not necessarily that I'm endorsing that investors need to invest in any one of these particular securities that we're just giving as examples. Correct. If they need to invest, then they need to get and seek advice from a licensed person. I needed to give that caveat.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, then we've seen, I think, like I've said, CEC, Airtel, I think we've seen Zanaco. We've seen also, interestingly, because of what is happening in the mining sector, 11% growth in the price of ZCCM, IH securities, and a couple of such counters. So investors themselves drive the price. It's not the SEC that gets to drive the price. So it's an investor sentiment, which is positive.
Absolutely. And, earlier on in the year, the SEC obviously launched the Capital Markets Master Plan following cabinet approval. Over the 3 quarters so far, how would you say this particular new strategy has been received by the market overall, from your various engagements?
Yeah. The largest source of positive reaction is, of course, from what we call the capital market operators. who were part and parcel of the development of the document, because this is not a SEC or government document, government developed document. Of course, it's government strategy, but the markets were fully involved. So with the selection and appointment of steering committee members, now we'll go into full implementation of the plan. We hope that once all the budgets, the internal budgets, the national budget has been done, but the internal budgets have been done for the SEC, then we can fully fund the activities that are going to take place next year. But like we said in the brief, we already have identified a couple of cooperating partners that have been on with us, even in the initial drafting of this, the FSD Africa, and they've taken up one or two key developmental areas, which we strongly believe will help us achieve the goals set for us as a country in the development of the capital markets master plan. So I think it's exciting, and participation should be fully assessed when we have the first meetings in the new quarter.
And are you able to tell us about how the capital markets plan will address issues around awareness? It's something that you passionately touched on during today's press briefing, where we're seeing the more and more need for more awareness about how the capital markets are arranged, and how people can access information, as well as how they can actually utilize them to create wealth.
Yeah, we have 5 developmental areas within the capital markets master plan, and one such development area is the pillar to do around awareness, because we strongly believe, not only believe, I think there's strong evidence that quite a number of people are not aware about what it is capital markets are all about. This is quite interesting in the sense that the markets, the Securities Act is almost like 25, 26 years in operation. We have grown from a meager, I think something like 40,000 10 years ago participants to 400,000 plus, which is a phenomenal growth that is like 10 times, right? But if you compare with the adult population, which is about maybe 7 million, that's still a very, very small figure. If we can get 10% of 7 million and we grow to 700,000, I think we will be in every household, and that's the beginning of the growth of capital markets. So awareness is an important aspect of the developmental agenda that we have in the capital markets. And we, as we like calling it or saying it at the Commission, is awareness by policymakers, awareness by the regulator, awareness by the market itself, and awareness by the investors. I think the whole chain needs to be aware about what it is that can be achieved within capital markets.
Absolutely. In my next question, I think we'll focus on the issue of fraud. You did bring up the challenges of fraud during our press briefing. Are you able to just give us an overview in terms of what the SEC is observing, and what sort of mitigation measures do you see cooperating partners putting in place to reduce the level and impact of fraud?
Again, it goes back to awareness. If the public was aware about the availability of regulated safe investments, they wouldn't be going to these fraudulent kind of products on the market. If people are aware of the normal yields or the normal profits or returns that are available in most of the products, you would not believe that somebody will go and invest in a product that gives you 100% return in a week. Correct. Immediately, correct. That should give out pointers with respect to the risk that such an investor is taking up. 100% in a week does not exist in the real world.
Absolutely.
And if people are aware that that sounded like fraud, then they would treat it as fraud. So we are still doing awareness campaigns. We did publish, in fact, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, something that we had warned people about, contract farming and all these other things. contract farming in itself is not illegal, it's not fraudulent, but what people should pay attention to is the contractual elements of some of these products they're getting into. Immediately, it sounds like too good to be true. Probably it's not true. Then you need to stay away. So we just need to keep hammering people, educating people with respect to legitimate products that are available in the financial services sector. Now, you will know that because of innovation in terms of technology and communication, somebody could craft a fraudulent product at 7 hours by 17 hours. They've probably got 1 million people that have seen it. And this has proved to be one of the most challenging things that we have to battle against. And that's why we signed MOUs with ZICTA, so that we, the two of us, could collaborate and get to see how best we can safely ensure that people's savings are not lost. We've equally done an MOU with the National Terrorism Center for equally similar kind of expected results in investor protection and the reduction of fraudulent and other illegal products.
Absolutely, and it's quite interesting that you're actually not going in it alone and you're teaming up with the likes of ZICTA. In my final question, I would like to touch on the current macroeconomic conditions. You'd indicated some of the three that that the SEC tends to look at. Maybe just for the sake of our views, you can just tell us about the three that the SEC normally looks at, so that it gives you more information about how economic conditions are doing and how the various portfolios in the capital markets would be performing.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. The issues around the impact of inflation, exchange rates, and interest rates on capital markets and capital market products is very fundamental and key to the way we drive the growth of our capital markets. If I were to start with the interest rates, what people normally get to do is they benchmark the capital market interest rates offered on capital market products to the government securities. If the government securities are giving a yield or profit or a margin of 26%, and since the government is considered to be of a lower risk, if I have to compete with the government, then I have to offer something higher than 26%. Now, for private sector investment, anything above 26% becomes very expensive. I usually like to say, unless you're yourself dealing with other illegal products, I don't know whether you would profitably invest money obtained at, say, 30% as a business, because there are other business costs that you have to attend to. So the lower the rates that government is able to borrow at, I'm sure it's good for everyone. The government then gets to pay less, but then some funds get to go into the private sector, the real sectors, as people call it, for creation of jobs and other productive offshoots of that. So interest rates, very key. Inflation, we always tell people capital markets are for the long term. Correct. So if you invest in a fixed income security, fixed income basically because they guarantee a fixed return. So if your return is at 10%, then it's important that inflation should be below 10%. Right. Otherwise, you're going to have your capital eroded over time. If I invested at 10% for 10 years and inflation is at 12%, that means I'm getting minus 2% return, which is not ideal as it were. So inflation, again, extremely, extremely key. So if we had inflation in the planned band, 6 to 8%, I think that makes it easier for everyone to invest long term. And then exchange rates. Exchange rates, although it also has an impact on inflation, but a direct impact is, I always give examples. If we have to attract foreign savings, these savings are coming into Zambia in dollars and then they are exchanged for kwacha. If the rate is 10 and then it moves to 20, basically I've lost half my savings without doing anything. Correct. So stable exchange rates are extremely and that are important for the development of long-term savings such as the ones that we promote in capital markets. So those are the three things: interest rates, exchange rates, and inflation are very key to the development of capital markets.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just as a final thought, we are going into the tail end now, Q4. What are investors going to be looking forward to, and just key stakeholders? You did indicate that there were some events that were being planned. I think one, which is obviously the steering committee that is obviously actioning, but also the SEC will be involved in a number of activities. Maybe one or two that you'll be part of.
I think the first thing that comes to mind is the sustainability area, or the green bonds. We are pushing and hoping that we have the first listing. Now, what we need to know is the green bonds are just bonds. Correct. But then they come with a nuance in the sense that the use of proceeds is specific. So we need to have the market, I think, outside the box, like people say, so that we come up with investment projects that can attract this sustainable funding or sustainable savings. There are a number of international saving houses or pension houses that only earmark certain funds for sustainability-related kind of investments. So, like people say, there's no shortage of capital, but a shortage of ideas. So if your idea could be crafted in a sustainable manner, it's possible to actually raise funds. In one of the green projects that we're looking at, if it does go through, it's almost like oversubscribed in the sense that there are these green funds that are ready to invest as long as the project is viable and is sustainable. So that's one key aspect. And for us, the growth of capital markets hinges on the Capital Markets Development Master Plan. With a steering committee, like you've mentioned, and we talked about it appointed, we will hit 2024 running so that we can achieve some of the milestones in that document that drives the nation into a better and more developed capital market. Capital markets are an enabler for economic growth, and economic growth results into job creation, correct, better health facilities, and everything else. We also hope to participate at the COP28, just to go and further learn how best the country can attract sustainable long-term savings into the country. So those are some of the immediate things that we're looking at.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, on behalf of Financial Insight, we'll definitely be following and watching the SEC closely so that we can get some more insights so that the public can be more aware about the different things that are happening.
I think you are doing, you and the team are doing a very, very good job. We need more interactions and more houses than just yourselves in trying to explain to our to the public what capital markets is all about. It's sometimes seen as an elitist, correct, kind of financial subsector, but we need to demystify this and see to it that it's a normal financial services sector. In other countries, every person, as long as they have a bit of disposable income, they have shares in one or two companies, and that's the only way you create personal pension funds, as it were.